what's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by Dark Fusion Systems, the best experience in gaming, computing. Whatever you need a powerful computer for, these guys are going to build it for you. You want to know who uses these guys and uses their computers? Ryan Kirby from Fit for a King. Yeah, that's who. So, yeah. I'm telling you, go check them out. You get $100 off your entire build using the code CPPOD at darkfusionsystems.com. Links and promo code in the description of the podcast below. Just anytime during the build, mention the code. You're getting $100 off your entire build. Now let's go to our feature presentation. We have Trevor from the band Wind Walkers on the podcast. They're really starting to pick up with the super soon release of their brand new album called What If I Break, out on November 17th, and we dive into the album's production, how Trevor, being a brand new member of the band, this is his first full album being the lead singer, how this took, and honestly, you get to know about this guy. He's an absolute blast. So are you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. This band, if you look up them on Spotify and you see the description, they said, we know we used to be heavier. And I found that hysterical. And seeing the fact that a lot of people are getting behind the single that they're releasing off their brand new album, What If I Break, due to come out on Friday, November 17th, I thought, this is a lot of fun. I like this humor. I like how this style is. Let's go and talk to the guys about this. And boom, we have one of them right here. So please welcome Trevor from the band Wind Walkers to the podcast. So Trevor, welcome to Chord Progression Podcast.
What's up, man? Happy to be here, brother.
Happy to have you here. And dude, when I first saw that we used to be heavier, I couldn't stop laughing at that. Just the brevity behind there is just so straightforward. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I got to give all that credit to Tim, man. We had a pretty outdated biography on there, and he just went in and just like, screw it. Like, this is what we are now.
Yeah, it's a long biography. It's like, let's just shorten it up, make it short, sweet, and to the point, and people are gonna look at it and maybe be like, oh, but at the same time, you know exactly what you're getting yourself into.
So even if you're upset about it, you got to at least laugh, right? Like,
yeah. Well, I kind of want to jump into that right away. You know, saying we know we used to be heavier. You know, what made you guys, especially going into this album with What If I Break, go away from a heavier side and infuse a little bit more of this lighter side of things? Maybe some more pop elements in there, maybe some more alternative elements into the music going forward. Like, what was the idea behind it?
It was something that they kind of approached before I joined, because they once we got in touch, they had done 4 demos already looking for a vocalist, and they sent me the tracks, and it was Drowning Hymns, which was one of our heavier ones. There's a super poppy one on the album that's what was one of the demos, and then Hang Fire and Dead Talk, which are like kind of in the middle, you know. So it's kind of a goal that they had from the start before I joined. But, you know, luckily I was on the same exact page. I listened to a lot of pop and R&B, and we just kind of wanted to like take genre out of it and just do everything we could to write just the best music we possibly could. You know what I mean? So whether that's a heavier song or, you know, something more of a ballad, a little synth wave or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean by that. Instead of just, okay, you know, if you're a heavier band, it's kind of an expected thing, especially in the rock and metal scene, especially from fans where, yeah, we're a heavier band. We want to have that heaviness. We want to have those breakdowns in there. Mm-hmm. We want to have those songs where we feel like, you know, once you guys play it live, that big giant pit's going to open up. And we're going to be able to go smashy and have fun the whole entire time.
Yeah.
But then by saying, we used to be heavier. Okay, now you're setting up the precedent, especially going into this album, especially going into new music, into this new chapter for Wind Walkers. Of course, new album, you as the vocalist on it, just opening up to the fact that you never know exactly what you can get. And you explained it with those demos as well. Heart, a little bit on the heavier side, a little bit on the lighter side, somewhere in between. But it also allows you to just experiment with so many different ideas. I mean, you brought up like 80s and you brought up synth and the synthwave kind of feel. Mm-hmm. That was really prevalent, especially listening through this whole entire thing. So it did take a lot of that and essentially try and not necessarily strip genre away from it, but allow you guys to experiment with so many different sounds that you might never been able to had you stuck with the heavier side of things.
Yeah, and that's really how we approached it. Is like each song that was written is like we started with kind of like a vibe. Like the guys do like all the, you know, the writing with the producers and everything, but they just walk in, they like, we want this kind of vibe, and we go for it. You know, our motto is dare to suck. So we try everything we can to just, you know, experiment and kind of push that boundary a little bit for us, you know, because nothing, you know, we all still love heavier music and everything, you know, but it definitely gets a little boring to play, you know, like like I've had my history with it, you know, in bands in the past, you know, and yeah, you just kind of want to branch out a little bit sometimes, you know.
Understandable. We're humans. As times go on, our mindset changes, our perspective changes, and what we connect with end up changing. Like for myself, I don't connect the same way with a lot of the same music I listened to when I was 15 compared to today. Like if I put a list of my top 10 favorite bands when I was 15 versus now, only one stays on there throughout the whole entire thing, and that's it. So it makes sense. It happens. I love the motto though, like just dare to suck, because
dare to suck, man. Yeah, because
I was like, keep going. Yeah.
No, I was just saying, it's just like you can. It's really easy to be timid about like new ideas and stuff. So like we're always slinging things out, even if it's an absolutely garbage idea where someone suggests something and everyone's like, nah, no, yeah. It's just we're just trying to push ourselves to create anything we possibly can.
I mean, the way I kind of think of it too is it kind of has that same idea of, the don't be afraid to fail mantra, the big old Arnold Schwarzenegger rule of life, just don't be afraid to fail, but in a different capacity where mindset wise, when you say like dare to suck, it's okay, take those shots. You can take those chances. And, if you suck, and it didn't work out, whatever, you tried. And
there's a delete button. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can hit Control Z and you can undo exactly what you just did. And you can try something new again. You can try something different with whatever plugin you're working with. Oh, I don't want it. We want to switch this up because we tried it. We were daring to potentially suck on this one. And it did. But hey, at least we didn't send this thing out fully yet. We're still working on it. Exactly. Let's give it another shot.
The plus side of working on an album for 2 years, you can keep going in and be like, yeah, that's not it. We got to redo that,
That's a long time to be working on an album. Jeez.
Yeah. It's been a minute because like I live in Washington State and the rest of the guys live in Massachusetts. So, and we record in Michigan. So it's a lot of flying, a lot of traveling. Takes a while, for sure. And especially when we started like writing music, we were going to be like a single band. That was kind of our goal when we started. So we weren't like in a rush to like push an album out or anything, but we kind of got to the point where we had an album ready. People were asking for one. So yeah, it's kind of, it's a different approach than other groups usually, A
little bit of a different approach than other groups usually, but, kind of thinking about that, potentially thinking about being a singles band and focusing in on that. That seems like a way that a good number of bands are starting to go to these days. But again, it's all based on the way the market is, based on the way that music is being consumed, based on the way that Spotify, Apple Music, and all those streaming services and how their algorithms work are pushing so much new music into the ears of listeners, where it's like you have to constantly have this string of music coming out over and over and over again to remain fresh, remain new, and to constantly be refreshed onto those major playlists that a lot of people are getting looked on.
Yeah, and people's attention spans are just absolute garbage now. You know what I mean? Like it's it's gonna be hard to like get someone to listen to a whole album nowadays. So yeah, we were just gonna drop a song like every 2 months and just keep riding that out. We see quite a few bands be successful off of that. You can put all your promotion and marketing into each single. You can change the aesthetic of everything. Every single, you don't have to be like locked into one. But yeah, that's definitely what made it take forever. We is after our third single, we decided that we were going to do an album. So there's like a good like 8-month gap in between Drowning Hymns and then Body Bag, which was the first one that we wanted to start promoting the album, start hyping that up a little bit.
Yeah, see, that makes sense too. But also, given the fact that all the guys are in Massachusetts, you're in Washington, you guys record in Michigan. Could you imagine going back once every like month or 2 months to try and record something, get something together?
Yeah, we usually like how we kind of had it mapped out where we're doing like, the boys will go out there, do some music, they'll send it to me. I do a lot of writing in my car when I'm driving. It's probably not the safest thing to do, but I just that's where I feel like I can really test out my vocals and stuff, like really belt it without, bothering the kids or like having neighbors call the cops or anything. But then I'll like fly out eventually and we'll lay down like 3 or 4 songs, and it just stacked up. We already got like, a few songs written for another album if we go that route. So it's, we've just songwriting machine with everybody lately.
Or if you want to try the singles route again, I mean, after the album releases, you already got 4 ready to go potentially. So just start slowly push those out there once every maybe 3 months. Boom, you've got all of 2024 covered right there.
Exactly. We might do that. We just might do that.
You might have to. I mean, you never know what happens. You might just get that inspiration in the car one day, just start writing. Hopefully you don't get pulled over for songwriting and driving. I'm not sure if there's really a statute against that or a law against that, but I'm not too up to date on Washington state law right now.
You know what? Neither am I, to be honest with you. So I could be walking a fine line here, but we'll see.
You could be walking a fine line, but what happens if you get that one cop that pulls you over and is just like, you know what? Sees you're listening to like Octane or something, trying to get going, and just like, oh shit, this guy knows good music. Move along, sir.
Yeah, there's got to be a fan out there, right?
There's got to be a fan out there,
fan.
or just someone that's just like, you know what? You're listening to the good kind of some good kind of music that I enjoy. You know what? Let's just listen to this, have a good time, son. You're free to go. That actually has happened to me before. So,
oh, that's good. That's yeah. I've had some close encounters. You know, I had one time where my headlight went out, and they rolled up on me. I guess my tint was really dark on my car at the time, but they rolled up with flashlights both ends. I'm just like, oh my god, what? It's a headlight, guys. Like, chill.
It's like, it's a headlight, guys. Don't worry about it. And all of a sudden, you got like this like pad of paper and a pen in your lap. It's like, what is that, sir? I had an idea for a song, yeah, and I was working on it. Please don't do anything.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely not. I promise I'm not writing. I'm not physically writing when I drive. That'd be sketchy. But you lock it all in here until I get some time to put it down on some notes in the phone.
Or it's just, sir, is there anything dangerous in the car? Yeah, these lyrics we just wrote are absolutely fucking killer. Sir, step out of the car.
Step out of
the car. Why do I have to say that, guys? Damn it!
All about that wording, man. It's all about that wording.
It's like all of a sudden just hear, hey, phrasing, and all of a sudden just have like the guy from Archer just come up and yell that, or have someone like just play it on a little like soundboard app on their phone back from like 2010. I mean, it would definitely you might make a cop absolutely laugh his ass off with that, and then go the Gabriel Iglesias route where if you can make a cop laugh, you have a chance, and then just all right, we're good.
I remember that. It's got to have a good joke in the pocket. You're free to go.
Just got to have that good joke ready to go, or just have a box of Krispy Kreme donuts in the front seat of your car.
It's all times, at all times.
Whatever's gonna make it work. Whatever is gonna happen with it. And again, you guys working on all this music again. 2 long years of that, just trying to figure out if you're gonna be a single band, then go with a full album. Just when you guys finally finish this album and finally put it all together, we're like, okay, we're going to release it like this. I got to ask, how are you feeling about it going forward? Given the fact that the sound that people had heard from the band previously compared to what was going to come was going to be something that was going to be a little bit different. So what was the feeling going forward after you guys were all done with this before you started releasing singles for it?
Yeah, so we were actually, before the album was even done, we were already releasing singles. We kind of got to the point where we had almost a full album. That's when we kind of made the decision. We really just wanted to test out what we call like our glass ceiling is, you know, because we're fully independent. So we wanted to see like what can we do by ourselves, and an album is kind of like that ultimate goal, you know. So, and again, you know, with like people asking for an album, we're like, we might as well give it a try. It was really nerve-wracking at first, especially the first couple songs. You know, being the new vocalist is always a little sketchy, you know what I mean? There's going to be people who like it and people don't by default. In the first few comments, you know, it got released over in Europe. The first like 5 comments were not positive comments, and I just remember being here at like midnight. I'm like, oh shit, this is not a good start. But it smoothed out a lot. And I think, especially after dropping Drowning Hymns, which is definitely one of the heavier tracks on the album. It's not, you know, heavy by any means, you know, but, you know, we get a little breakdown, little screaming in there. I think establishing that kind of made us feel a little better. We felt a little more confident to drop the more poppy song and with Body Bag. But we're just like full confidence now. We enjoy what we're doing so much that like there's no regrets with what we're doing. We're like, some of the newer stuff is even poppier, and there's even some that are heavier than anything on this album. So yeah, we're just having a blast with it, man. We think that's the point of it. You know what I mean? It's just you gotta have fun doing it.
If you're not having fun doing it, you know, the fact that you're able to go through life making music, you know, doing the thing that you absolutely love, if you're not able to have fun with it, then what's the point? Then
yeah, exactly.
Maybe go and sit behind a desk at a insurance company,
yeah,
and go all Office Space on them, and just, you know, if someone takes your red stapler, then just go nuts.
Yeah, and like also say like writing music that you know people want, you know what I mean? Like that's like, I don't know, that can really dull, like make this experience a little more dull, you know. It's all about expressing yourself, and I think we're expressing ourselves to the fullest right now.
That's a huge key as well, because every band I've really ever interviewed, and really the ones that when they really take off and it's just they're happy doing this and they continue doing this, it's because they're always making music and it's your art, it's your passion. You're talking about things from your lives that you feel passionate about, that you relate to, experiences, traumas, whatever you're trying to put out there. This is your art. It's gonna have to be the way that you want it to be, because if you're creating something for you, like that's about yourself, you have to create it for yourself. If it's something that you're just trying to create to pander to a very specific niche, it's like, okay, this is what I was feeling about it, and this is where I want to take the song because this is the emotion of it, but we're going to write it this way anyway because this is what's going to be more popular. You're not going to nearly enjoy it as much, and what we're going to get is we're going to get subpar music that we're not going to be able to relate to because you can't do it as well. It reminds me of Asking Alexandria when they went to the style that they're working through now ever since Danny rejoined the band. They're like, yeah, we're older now, from when we wrote, Stand Up and Scream, it's like, we were what, 20, like 20, mid 20s, maybe early 20s. Yeah, they're angry, they're aggressive, they're angsty, so they connect with it. But 10, 15 years later, they're all fathers, they're all family men now. Their mindsets, their perspectives differ, their experiences differ, and how those emotions come across differ. So their art's going to reflect that. And personally, I'd rather have somebody making art continually for themselves that they want to make and make it throughout their whole entire career than give me one more album of one thing I absolutely like and then resent it forever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's bands who still do that. They're just like they're writing what they want, what they think people are expecting. And then there's also artists who've been around forever. Like one of my favorite bands is The Used. I've been a huge fan of them since I was like 12 years old. And they just dropped an album like a year or two ago, and like you can still hear the passion in it. They're experimenting with different things, and I don't know, when you feel that they're really enjoying it, it makes it so much more enjoyable for the listener.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, because for me, it's if I listen to the first ever Rise Against record compared to the one they came out with in 2021, you can tell there's a shift in like the tone. You can tell there's a shift in the way that the sound, it's not as punky, it's not as aggressive. It's still got the punk rock flavor to it, but it's more polished in a way. But the passion and the lyricism and everything around there that made me fall in love with everything about the band, like it's all still there. So I'm like, and when you see them play live, I'm like, Jesus Christ, these guys still got it, and it still does something. And I'm like, I can't wait for the next one now, and I can't wait to see where they go after that. And even when it comes to what you guys had done, started releasing singles, and those first 5 comments, from Europe were not good. It is interesting because, coming in to the band and now you're, the brand new vocalist, there's always going to be people, like you said, that are going to be so connected with that other sound, with that other vocalist and how it worked together, where they're just never going to accept you just blatantly because of that bias.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've accepted that, you know what I mean? Like it was, like I said, it was definitely rough at first, but like we've gotten so much like love and support off of the new stuff that it's, you're going to get new fans, you're going to lose some old ones, and that's okay, because the music is still there. The old music is still there to listen to. You know what I mean? That's not a problem to me if someone wants to listen to that as opposed to the newer stuff.
And I think another maybe reason why people started, get more accepting of it and really start taking to you more now as the vocalist is based on the fact that you, especially from my perspective, you listen to the singles, but then you listen through the full album as well. One of the biggest keys that brought to me to it was the range of the vocal styles that you had. Not only the different ranges in terms of, different pitches, different tones, different styles, but the pacings that you're able to work with and how you're able to just pattern everything out in different ways to continue to allow every single bit of instrumentation that you guys use on this album to not only transition from one spot to the next really simplistically and really understandably, a lot of that being based off of how your vocals were able to transition from that and create that bridge. But just the fact that there's times where I'm like, yeah, I'm hearing you sing softer with more of a breathy tone. I'm seeing you get more full with it, get more passion with it. I'm seeing some uncleans even come in there as well at times to really go all over the place. And the way that the patterns go, I'm just like, man, now I start to see why people are really starting to take more of a liking to it, really starting to embrace it, because they're feeling how your vocals are working within the music and seeing how big of a bridge it is to make all these different pieces connect from one spot of the song to the next.
Right. Yeah. And that's one tough thing about like when you're just like we're doing the singles right off the bat. It's like me knowing that, at the time, when Dead Talk first came out, at the time we had like 5 other songs that one had a bunch of, more screams in it, and like just being able to show kind of that diversity, I was just kind of waiting on, so I'm really excited for the album to come out where I can, kind of show people, I'm willing to do any style. Like I listen to a lot of different kind of music, and I like to emulate that in my own music.
So like when you were working on this album, when you were really working through trying to figure out these vocal patterns, figure out how you were going to sing on this, how everything was going to come together, you said you're listening to a lot of music. So what were you all listening to at that point in time so that when people listen to it, they can get that like smorgasbord feel of all the influences that were coming in on this bad boy?
Yeah, like I listened from anything from Darko and, Alpha Wolf to like Toby and Igwe, like a rapper, Kendrick Lamar, Teddy Swims, Alan Stone, some soul music and stuff, really doesn't matter the genre. If I like a vocalist and like what they're doing, I try to emulate that in a way and kind of add it to my arsenal, you know what I mean? But I have such a terrible attention span with my music. Like there's like I'll even go like a week or two where I'm not listening to a bunch of music, especially with like the writing process. Like when I'm driving to work or something where I'm usually listening to some Spotify, I just got the demos playing, and just trying to work around that. I write a lot of like gibberish at first to get like vocal patterns, and that's why a lot of it can be kind of percussive and stuff, is because I'm trying to use my vocals as like an instrument. And then like lines will start coming to me, and then I'll just start branching off from there. But it always starts with the rhythm, the pattern, and working that with the music as well.
I know a lot of other vocalists that have said the exact same thing, where when it comes to trying to figure out exactly what you want to say, how you want to say it, the first thing they do is just start like recording over demos and whatnot and just speaking in gibberish. But it's just trying to get like certain patterns, certain pitches, certain flows between certain spots, just to really get the melody down, figure out how this is all going to work, how you just naturally want to put this in there in the headspace that you're in with what you want to talk about. Then you get the flow down, then you get the pitch down, then you start working through it, and the words just start to come out because you understand the flow from one spot to the next. It's kind of taking a listen to Sometimes You're the Hammer, Sometimes You're the Nail by a Day to Remember, where the intro is Jeremy just trying to figure out the pattern, and then all of a sudden just, I got it, and then boom, it just goes right into the song.
Right in. I remember that. Yeah.
You have that like cool little piece in there where you can kind of tell that that's going to happen. And if you're not really you're listening to a lot of different types of music, but when you're working on these demos, it makes sense that you're just in your car listening to it back and forth, because you're getting in that headspace. You're getting in the mindset of where you're feeling the song is taking you, what memories it's bringing up, what concept it's bringing up, what it makes you want to feel and talk about. And then you're starting 100%. To put the voice to it, and you're starting to get the flow of it. But because you're in such a mental headspace there, the attitude, the emotion, the feelings, everything is such at the forefront, where if you weren't doing that, then things wouldn't come out as passionately as they do. The patterns wouldn't come as naturally as they do. Then as fans, we wouldn't connect with the music as much as we would.
Right. Yeah. And that's like doing the whole gibberish thing to start off, I want my vocals to fit as good as possible into the music. Like it is just another instrument, don't want it clashing or anything. There's a lot going on with our music. We got a lot of production going on, it can be a little overbearing sometimes, I think, but I think if the vocal melodies and patterns fit in perfectly, like you were saying too, about like the emotion coming in, before I even start writing lyrics, the music will make me feel a certain way. I'll start, thinking of like a certain situation or emotion I'm feeling, and I'll just have like a lyric fall out sometimes, you know what I mean? Or I'm like, oh, damn. Okay. We got to remember that one. Sometimes I don't remember it. Got to dig a little deeper to find it again. But yeah, man, it's a fun experience, especially when you have such talented writers as the rest of the band, and our two producers, Nick Matzgaus and John Eberhard. Incredible. They're great dudes. They're some of the most creative people I've ever met. So like being able to get a canvas like that from them, I'm so lucky. They make my job way too easy.
Yeah, they're giving you the canvas, but they're also essentially giving you this like emotional roadmap that you can figure out as well, because if we listen to instrumental music or we listen to some instrumental interludes, you take the vocals out of a lot of these different songs and you just leave that bare bone style. You can sort of feel exactly where the song is going, and you can really start to abstractly put yourself in there and guide. But then when it comes to a vocalist, it's like, okay, we listen to what you have to say. We're listening to the pitch and the tone. And that acts as more of like you're kind of hand-holding us, not through the experience, but guiding us to the emotion and through this journey of emotion on the song, so that as we're listening to it, as we're going through it, we can pick up what this is, what that core emotion is, and then continue to start playing these movies in our head of different experiences that we're feeling when we listen to it. So then we connect with it the same way you did, all based off of different reasoning.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, that's the coolest thing with music, man, especially because like if someone can like just hear my words, like for instance, there's a song on the album called Almost Ecstasy, and it's really a love song if anything. But we did an interview a while ago, and the person thought it was like wanting to leave a toxic relationship, and I just thought that was really interesting that they can take those same words, same vibe, and then they have their own interpretation of it. I think it's the coolest thing ever.
I know right now I'm like scrolling through my my notes. I'm like, oh, what did I think? What did I put together anything for that song of like how it felt and like what I thought the emotion was and what the meaning was behind it? But now I was more entranced with that, with how everything was put together musically and from the production side of things. That was more where I was sticking in on that one. But it kind of makes sense too. And then when it comes to your vocal style as well, all the different vocalists you were listening to, all different inspirations you were coming from, it was like all these different songs that you guys were playing and listening. I'm like, I'm picking up different pieces of other bands. Like, again, I'm picking up different influences, different ideas of how it makes me feel when I listen to other bands, when I listen to those songs as well. Like what you just brought up with Almost Ecstasy, when I was listening through it, I'm like, something reminds me of a certain feel about it, but there's going to be something here that's going to be a little bit different from, of course, the band I'm thinking of, which was Holding Absence from the UK. Like, I'm like, listening to your vocals, I'm like, pattern-wise, emotion-wise, I'm feeling a lot of like what Lucas from Holding Absence would have done. The way the build is, I'm like, the emotion is all there, especially for Almost Ecstasy. But then once you got to the bridge, it kind of like simpled out in a little bit of way, but it also made it just, and then afterwards it just got much more full. But there's this uniqueness to it that just made it stand out as much more like, okay, this is Wind Walkers right here. There's no doubt about it. There's something that added to it where I'm like, you know what? Production-wise, whatever you guys are doing on this thing to make it sonically brilliant, you guys are doing it.
Yeah, it's those producers, man. They're like the additional members of the band. Like I said, it's so cool watching them work. They're so freaking brilliant,
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I've only ever talked to two producers on this podcast. I've talked to the former guitarist of Ice Nine Kills, Justin DeBleek, and then I actually had Joey Sturgis on before. We talked about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, so that's where Nick Matzkow's came from. He was working with Joey Sturgis, and now he's doing his own thing. I think he still does work with him now, but yeah, so he does like Conquer Divide and Until I Wake, all those guys.
Yeah. I remember. I know Nick. I'm like, I know the name. So when you brought up, I'm like, yep, I'm pretty sure it's a Joey Sturgis.
It all adds up.
It's all part of the Joey Sturgis. Like they have like NFL like coaching trees. It's the Joey Sturgis producer tree. They got to like
he's the offensive coordinator. Nick Matzkow's offensive coordinator.
Pretty much. But when it comes to the production side of things, especially for this album, this was something that really stood out to me because there's been a good amount of albums this year that I've listened to where there's a lot of different things going on in these albums, a lot of different ideas, a lot of different styles, a lot of different influences. And one of the biggest things I'm seeing is when a lot of these things are coming together, how do you properly balance everything out from more of the produced side, more of the electronic side? You guys did a good amount of 80s synth inclusions in this stuff. So how does that balance out with getting heavier with when you're trying to mix the two together? I've seen a lot of production where it muddies the two or features both of them so prominently that the vocals get lost. That never happened on this album. Every time you had something when it was, more of the synth style or more of the electronic style, more of the production style is more focused in there, you could hear some of these more pounding drums. You could hear a bass riff. You could hear a guitar riff in there. But it was something where it was put in there in the mix, it was either pulled back enough to make sure that other piece could really shine, or it was put to match to it so that everything could work together. But then the vocals over the top of it could really also stand out and just make this thing go from one spot to the next, transition really nicely. That was something I was really, really interested in this album, and every song you guys hit on it.
Oh, that means a lot, man. Like I'm not really around ever for like the writing of the instrumentals, but that's the same stuff that I noticed too. Like the transitions are incredible. Like watching how he'll layer sounds to create another sound, I'm just like so blown away by that constantly. Like I said, like again, like just going back to like how incredible the producers they are. That's the kind of stuff that they really focus on. We'll have like both of them in the room. Like if I'm tracking vocals or something, for instance, I'm Nick's main engineer. He does all the mixes and everything. But I'll be tracking the vocals, and then next thing you know, John's at his computer and he's like, I got an idea. Take his headphones off, go over to Nick's computer and just slap in some stuff, and they mix it in real quick. And it blows my mind, man. I don't know how they're able to do this.
I mean, it is pretty insane, but it's something when you have a producer that's able to connect with exactly what you guys are trying to go for, potentially connect with that vision, with that sound, with that emotion, so that when they're working through it and listening through it, they're listening for certain things, but it's going to be things that they're connecting with that work in their brain that are going to say, hey, this is what we're thinking about to push this up. So when they're working in the room with you, if they have that idea and they know exactly where you're coming from, they can amplify that. They can be those things, especially, in the vocal booth. Maybe it's like, hey, we went through this take. This is good, but I just don't like vocally. I know what you're going for. I don't believe you. Or when I had Shaylee from Dayshell on the podcast, because he worked with Joey Sturgis on his last album, he's like, he knew everything I was thinking about because we went through and like talked about everything for like 2 full days. It was, I think he said. And it's like, okay, so now when you're working through this stuff and you have different ideas for certain noises, yeah, now you're just going to roll free with it. You're going to work with it and you're going to have this innate trust between yourself, the producer, and vice versa. It's going to make life a lot easier to make sure that exactly everything you're looking for and want to bring out in these songs, every emotion, every sound, every little tiny thing that's going to make it really work is shown.
Yeah, it's really like a passion project, man. Like with them, they're like, they seem just as into it as we do. You know what I mean? And it builds a lot of trust. I mean, like the boys have been working with these guys for years. You know what I mean? So they already have a lot of trust. It was a little nerve-wracking for me the first time I went out there because I've worked with the same producer for almost my entire career. And then we're flipping it up, switching to completely different guys who have huge resumes. You know what I mean? But they make working with them way too easy. And like you said, like they're almost like in your head sometimes. They just know exactly what you're going for.
So now you know why they have huge resumes and continue to have huge resumes is because they're
Well-deserved.
able to do stuff like this.
Well deserved.
Yeah, and if they weren't, then people wouldn't be going to them, or they wouldn't be doing this for over 10 years now, each of them at least. And even going from there too, they're always regarded as like, whenever you see an album that's produced by Nick or produced by Joey, it's like, you know what, this is going to be something that's really going to stand out. It has this certain like positive stigma behind it that this is going to be some good stuff. And again, when it came to the absolute mix that you guys had on this album, every song, nothing felt like it was, muddy. Nothing felt like the transitions was off. Nothing felt like anything like that. Everything felt like it was in proper place. Everything that needed to be amplified was properly amplified. Everything needed to be drawn back just so that it could complement that. Absolutely worked. Every bit of it. Even there, I forgot which bridge it was, but there was one where it's like your vocals got, or some pre-chorus, it was like your vocals got really, really distorted. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? But then the way it transitioned from that verse into this distortion really just didn't make much sense. But then once you got to the chorus, the way that you could transition from each piece, like, okay, now this absolutely is blowing my mind. How the hell did that happen?
Yeah, man, you probably wouldn't believe it, but like we only had like 2 different mixes on the album. Like the first one was damn near perfect, and then like I had 0 notes. Like I'm someone like I don't know, I don't understand that stuff as much. I'm very simple with like I write vocals, I write lyrics, I sing. It's what I like to do. So me taking notes on mixes is always a little challenging for me. But like we had very minimal notes like that. That's how great the dude is. Like he just delivered that.
But that might be one of the better things, especially when it comes to, being in a full band as well, because you probably have, the other guys, you have them that might be listening through this and really focusing on certain parts in the mix just to make sure that they pop out there, that they stand out. When you're listening to it, it could be something completely different where you might not give them like these notes like, hey, at this exact piece and this exact part of this exact song, I feel like this potentially could be a little bit more amplified. This sound could be different. What you might have been looking for was just, okay, take the mix, the initial mix, put it in your car, listen through the whole entire thing on a drive, because you're just going to, especially as the vocalist, you're going to be the lead, like again, that hand holder through the emotion. You want to make sure that whatever emotion you are feeling is going to be presented in that mix so that there's no doubt in your mind that this is exactly how it feels. This is how I want it to be. No notes, man. We're good.
Yeah, that's how I always am. Like, I got nothing, guys. I got nothing. And then the boys will be like, yeah, maybe like take this scream out or something. Like maybe a little, the snare a little more here, and that's it, And I'm like, I trust you guys. It's gonna sound good either way, I guess, with Nick behind the wheel.
Yeah, but if you had people that were just so fully, if everyone, I should say, not just, some people, but everybody in the band was so fully focused in on just the absolute technicality pieces of it, then you might get something where that's all you're focusing on. And then technically everything sounds perfect. Everything sounds precise, but you lose out on that absolute flow that could possibly be on the album.
Right.
And then someone that's listening to it that doesn't have that absolute perfect ear for production is not going to pick up on it every step of the way. Kind of think about Tool in a way, where everything they do, it's like always super tight, super technical, every bit, every step of the way. But there's a lot of people that don't really get into Tool. There's a lot of people that do, but there's a lot of people that don't, because it's like, okay, this is so technical, this is so precise, this is so profound in that aspect. Their minds just don't work like that.
Yeah,
their
it'd be hard to listen to for a lot
Yeah.
of people, for sure.
Yeah, it's like, and then you take a look at bands like, I'll use trying to think of use like Ice Nine Kills, for instance. Yeah, is their music technically perfect? No, but what they're able to do is like, if everyone was just focusing on, does this absolutely work? Does this flow right? Does this connect? Does this just hit the way you want it to hit when you listen to the full entire thing? They make music that's based off of freaking horror movies, and they're damn successful at it because they're able to capture the emotion of those horror movies and put in there. Are some of the songs technically great? Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Some of them are. But again, it's just when you have both the ideas of certain members of the band really focusing on the technical precision, and some, when it comes to like how the song works, focusing on, does this just flow right? Does this just work right? Does this make me feel the emotion I'm trying to feel? Now you get that balance out there where you can have both pieces work instead of having one beat outweighing the other.
100%. Gotta have that teamwork.
Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right, baby. That's right.
I've got to just maybe I should have a big sign in the back that just says teamwork makes the dream work. But then compared to everything else I have on the walls, it just really wouldn't fit. So, nah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you have much room back there either.
Not much room back here compared to
Filling
everything
up.
else. I mean, maybe I could try and fill it up more. There's a little space here. There's a little space here behind here that's not really seen, but that's just where another monitor is. You know what? Maybe we'll just have a little tiny sign and just be like, yeah, it's the tiniest sign ever. Just right down here.
That's all it says. Tiniest sign ever.
Tiniest sign ever. But make it as big as possible too. Just tiniest sign ever. Well,
that doesn't make sense.
It's a juxtaposition, and I don't care what they say.
Oh, you're fun.
Oh man, this is an absolute blast. And again, I'm just I always love doing this stuff. Have a good time, get to know more about you, get to know more about the music, get to just know more about everything, and hopefully present you in the best way possible so that
I appreciate it, man.
Damn, it's fun. Damn, we got to connect with this band, because even taking a look at your, of course, Spotify metrics, everyone use them, even though there's kind of like a weird metric to use because it's what people are listening to on streaming. But when it comes to, the live setting, when it comes to getting out there on the road, when it comes to who's going to be a support of that, doesn't always necessarily translate. But seeing, the fact that before the album comes out, Spotify count, you guys are like close to 900,000, potentially could break that million marker going forward once the album releases. I mean, you ever thought you would break something like that in your music career?
No. Like this last year has been insane. It's been blowing up like way more than any of us were expecting or prepared for, Obviously we wanted that, but like our goal earlier this year was like, man, I hope to God, like when this album drops, we can get to 500K. Like that was our goal, and like we were sitting here hitting the 800K, before the album drops. It's absolutely wild. But like you said, though, it's really hard to that's an awesome number and it looks really cool and flashy, but yeah, like we have no idea what would happen if we tour. We're hoping to test that out early next year, just kind of maybe do something like regional over there on the East Coast and see if we can get a little bit of pull. But yeah, like it's a huge accomplishment to be able to hit those kind of monthlies,
It's still an absolutely huge accomplishment, because that means that, people are listening to your music. People are consuming it on a consistent basis. It's something where, I look at a lot of bands I've interviewed, look at a lot of bands I absolutely enjoy. And there are some of them that are just, they play these massive shows and they're good, but all of a sudden you see the Spotify count and you're like, that's small. I've seen some that are absolutely huge. And then all of a sudden you see them play shows and it's like, okay, you're pulling like 200 people. How is that? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But again, still the fact of the matter is that there's people consuming your music. There's people that are consuming it consistently on a monthly basis. And there's people that are listening to it on those playlists. They're able to discover it. And it's kind of a weird thing where it's like the higher number you have, especially if you cross that million marker, there's a lot of people, just given the fact that they kind of trust this, they kind of take it as like religion, even when it comes to Spotify metrics. Like, hey, this band has this many streams, I got to go check them out. It adds more to it. It all depends upon like, okay, now you have that aspect of it. What can you do with the other aspect of it? And I understand, you know, going out on tour, seeing how much of a pull you have, how many people are going to go out and support your band, how many people are going to go out and listen, how many people are going to go out and be jamming in the crowd, having a blast every step of the way. It's a different thing, but again, I'm not trying to take away from the fact that you guys are almost at 1 million freaking streams, and maybe 0.1, maybe 0.01%, maybe 0.001% of all musicians that put music on Spotify ever hit that.
Right. Yeah. It's wild. But yeah, we're definitely fully aware that, you know, it is just a number, you know, it's a really cool number. Algorithms has helped us out a lot, you know, especially like I said earlier, being an independent band, like the fact that we're able to do that is just been insane. But the touring side of it is just a whole different animal, you know, like we gotta get real tight together. We're getting all the equipment together, you know, to be able to give the best, you know, live performance that we can give. We don't want to sell anybody short with, you know, they finally come out and see us and they're like, wow, that was a shitty show.
Don't come out. They don't want to come out and see you and just have you guys standing up on stage, you know, like feet planted, like you're, you know, I'd say even like Kiss now, where it's like by the time I want to see them, it's like, yeah, they're still playing, still a cool show. They just don't move. But again, they're about to retire, so it kind of makes sense. They've been doing this for 50 plus years. They don't want to see a brand new band come up there, just stand up there, play, and then that's it, and maybe not sound the best. It's like, you got to give them the best quality show possible. And with the shows that you're playing, are those going to be your first actual live shows with the band? Just giving, you know,
yes, sir.
Oh, wow. That's going to be something.
Yeah, it's exciting, man, because like I haven't played live in a while, like especially since, you know, working on this album. It's just been like any free time I have to like go take a week off or something. We're working on, you know, writing music. We kind of had like our first practice. We did a video a few weeks ago for the track that's going to drop when the album comes out. And yeah, we did a little practice together and it just felt so good. It felt so good to actually like perform, you know. A little nervous about our knees. That's a whole different story. I'm the youngest one in the band at 30, so like we gotta hit it heavy and do like a really good first couple of tours, and then we can start chilling out a little bit. We got to establish ourselves and blow these knees out, and then we can just pull the whole Bad Omens thing where they look cool just standing there, you know.
If you can pull off the Bad Omens thing and look cool just standing there, then you pretty much have it made. Even though, you know, I know Bad Omens, I've seen them a couple of times. They still don't stand still on stage. No one's
they still get the movement, you know.
Place.
Yeah, those guitar players, so many parts are just it's so mysterious. They just standing there jamming. I love it.
Yeah, but if that's the mystique you're gonna end up creating, that's the one you create and that's the one you go with. But if you want to make it happen, you want to bring that energy, you want to just bring that connection piece with the crowd. Just stretch out, man, you know, do some like, you know, no weight squats just to get the knees warmed up. Make sure you got a shit ton of Tylenol, you know, ice packs, heating pads, prep it up. Icy out, whatever you need.
Kind of screwed ourselves because all of our videos, we go really hard. So I think that's what people are expecting. So we gotta deliver. What have we done?
Hey man, as long as you can deliver, that's really all that matters. And the point, when I always think about when it comes to the live show too, I've said this multiple times and I'll say it again just because I really think it stands out. When it comes to the live show, no matter what happens, it doesn't matter about the people. When in the live show, it doesn't matter about the people that listen on Spotify. It doesn't matter about the people that are not at the show, that are might be just looking at videos and like, oh, this band is not good live. Well, you're not actually experiencing it. It matters what the crowd that is in that venue at that moment is experiencing, because you're able to directly impact them. You're able to directly be the one that drives their mood, drives how they feel about the band. It's all on you at that point. So you're going to go all out there. Make sure that, you know, hey, we went all out in the videos. Let's go all out in the show as well. Let's go nuts. Let's have a blast. Let the energy, let's let the adrenaline flow and just see what happens. And, you know, maybe the next morning you wake up and you're like, dang, that kind of hurt a little bit. We got to go do it again. But those fans had an absolute blast. And you're seeing the reaction fans that are online. It's like, hey, I was at the show last night. They killed it. If you said that they didn't kill it and you weren't at the show, 1, you missed out. 2, why are you actually talking when you haven't been there?
You weren't even there. Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole experience, man. We're really excited to get on it. Yeah, just I don't know. I you know, touring's always been a dream, you know, and now we kind of find ourselves in this situation where it's going to be possible soon.
I mean, very possible soon, and especially the fact that, again, you're going to have this whole album out. You're going to have a full set of songs out that you are the one that, you know, sang on the track, that you're the vocalist for these. So you're able to connect with the audience now even more strongly when they hear you, when they listen to you, and when they see these songs live, because what they hear on the album, what they hear when they stream it, is what they're going to remember and what they're going to feel when they see you perform live. You know, it's like every time you go and see go to a bar and there's an 80s cover band there. Do you enjoy hearing some of those 80s songs, or do your parents enjoy hearing some of those 80s songs?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But could you imagine if Bon Jovi could still absolutely belt out Living on a Prayer like he did back in the 80s? Your parents would not be going to go see those cover bands if they had a chance to go see John Bon Jovi. They wouldn't be doing it.
It's all about the experience, right?
It's all about the experience, and everyone can just go, what? And mess with things, just go, lemon and a pear.
I don't think that's right.
I don't think it's right. I don't care. I had another one in there, or something in a chair, but like I can't remember what it was.
We'll give you some time on it.
I have to think. I still remember Lemon and a Pear though, and that's always some. And anytime anytime at a show and a band's like, they're leading into their set, you got the music in between sets, and someone plays Living on a Prayer. I'm always trying to belt out something different. I always start with Lemon and a Pear, but I don't know what to go with next. I always try and think of something on the spot, but sometimes it goes well, and then I forget what it is, and sometimes it just I mess up.
That song is forever changed for me now because I don't think I'm ever going to hear anything different. So thank you. It's a good thing. It's a nice little twist to the song, Lemon and a Pear. I like it.
Hey, remember? Hey, they always put with a little lemon twist in there. Yeah, now I'm actually adding the lemon twist to a song. Take that, everybody.
Got him. Let's go.
So next year, you guys think about doing touring, going to the East Coast just on a couple of dates, maybe even doing something out west by you guys. It's going to be curious to see what's going to happen. And hopefully, I still hope this, because even though I am nowhere near the East Coast, I'm not near the West Coast, I'm sitting here pretty in the Midwest, that maybe, just maybe, you guys come around my neck of the woods in some capacity. I'm hoping.
That'd be tight. It really depends on what, the next stop is for us, because it would be nice to, warm up with a regional tour. But I mean, if we get an opportunity to like open up for something like legit, we gotta jump that. So maybe we'll see if that happens.
I'll say, if you get an opportunity to join the national tour, they're like, that's absolutely, it's open up for somebody. I can almost guarantee you that there's going to be a show you're playing that's within 2 hours of me. If there's like been 1 or 2 tours this year that haven't, mostly because pretty much everyone goes through Chicago. I can get down there in an hour and a half. Easy.
Where are you at?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Milwaukee. All right. Yeah. That's, I think my dude from VOTS lives there. Christian Gray, if I remember correctly. Yeah. I can imagine it. Kind of like, I mean, Washington's always rough with shows. Like nobody wants to come to Spokane. And it's like in Washington, you have like Spokane and Seattle. Those are the 2 cities, and Seattle's like 4.5 hours away. So if something shows up to Seattle, I can't really make it out there, but we've got the pass, the mountainous pass. No bands want to take that on.
Yes, I'm lucky where I'm at in Milwaukee. Like, yeah, I get shows that come to Milwaukee, but you're not coming to Milwaukee. Oh, you're going to Chicago. That's an hour and a half. Easy. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, everything's real tight over there. That's actually where it starts getting tight, where all the cities get close.
Yeah, and it's just like, ooh, this is fun. This is nice. I don't have to worry about us going crazy. And like, are they going to come this time? Are they not going to come this time? I'm not going to be able to see this one. I don't know. Along with the fact that a good amount of my favorite bands are from Chicago, so they do hometown shows there. And I'm like, well, I'm not missing out on this one, even though I know it's going to be sold out. There's no way that someone's going to buy it.
Those got to go so much harder. Those hometown shows.
Oh, they are fantastic.
Get
so
rowdy.
It'll be interesting to see what happens when you guys, if you guys do that East Coast run for it and play a show in Massachusetts. It's everyone there is going to feel like it's a hometown show, and then you might just be there just like, I got to do this like it is a hometown show, but we play in Washington. Watch out.
That's where it's at, man. That's what I'm really hoping for. I've got a lot of awesome friends, and people have supported me in the scene out here forever. So like being able to play for them after all that support, that'd be a dream come true. Got a little growly there for a second.
Oh, absolutely. It'd be a dream come true. All right, Trevor, I have one more question before we wrap this bad boy up. And it's something I absolutely love to ask everybody. I've been doing this for like the past 2 months, and I'm not stopping anymore because it's one of my favorite things to ask at the end of this. So I'm going to ask you if you can give me 3 bands, 3 artists, 3 bands, whatever it is, that you are currently listening to, that you want to just get people to get more into, listen to more, believe deserve a bigger audience, outside of Wind Walkers, because that's already expected. So 3 besides you guys that you're absolutely enjoying, that you recommend to people, go for it. Yeah,
so one artist that I'm listening to a lot, he's doing good. He's doing good right now, but he's kind of like a pop, like hyper pop artist named Breakins. I've never listened to him before, but the dude is writing, I think, some of the most creative pop right now. Like it's all over the place. Little, stimulates the ADD a little bit. It's good stuff. Let me see how they spell this one, because there's this other band. Neverless. I don't know if you've ever heard of Neverless. Awesome band, same kind of vibe as us a little bit. I call it vibecore. But yeah, it's NVRLESS. Love those guys. I talked to them a little bit. They dropped a song called "Go Into Hell" that just like it tickled me, man. It was such a good track. And then I'd probably have to say my buddies in Of Truth. They're a band from out around here. I'm friends with all those guys for years. They're awesome guys. They dropped an album like a year or so ago and working on some new music, but I would definitely check all of those guys out.
Perfect. Even more for me to check out, more for everybody else to check out, and more ways that we can just grow people's love for music and grow the music scene as a whole by recommending more bands and just telling more people about them. One of the big keys to do it.
There's too many out there, man.
There's too many out there, but we still want to show love to all of them because I'd rather have too many bands out there than, hear that rock and metal are dead for 15 years and then just not have any new band ever show up.
Preach it.
So it's like, let's just keep having those bands pop off and just give them a chance. Give bands like, like what we've seen with Spirit Box, we've seen with Bad Omens, what we've seen with Sleep Token, what we've seen kind of like a band like Catch Your Breath, what we might be seeing and should be seeing with Wind Walkers. But yeah, we'll just see with that. We'll see. We'll cross fingers, we'll cross toes, we'll hope it happens with the release of the brand new album on the 17th. So make sure you go listen to it. So as we bring this podcast to its conclusion, Trevor, one thing I'd like to do is give my guest, which is you, a chance to say whatever you want to say, plug or want to plug, promote at the end of the episode. So my friend, floor is yours.
Oh man, yeah, just I guess this will come out before the album drops, so snag one of those vinyls if you can. There's a limited batch of them. Same with the merch and everything. It helps us out a lot being fully independent. So like anyone who has ordered already, anyone who's going to order, it means the absolute world to us. We completely rely on it. And just make sure to check out that album on the 17th. We put 2 long years into it. So it means a lot. We need you guys.
So after 2 long years of work on it, make sure that it pays off for these guys by going to check it out. And now it's time for this podcast with 3 things. First things first, the brand new album from Wind Walkers comes out on the 17th. Now, you want to make sure you follow along with the band too, because you never know when they're going to be playing live. They're going to be doing stuff next year. You want to make sure you're in touch with it. When more new music is going to potentially come out, you want to be in touch with that as well. And make sure that you can snag one of those vinyls because, it's got a cool variant, but also, vinyl players are like, feed me, and stuff like that. So they get hungry for vinyls and you want to feed the beast. So the best way to follow along with Wind Walkers and get all this stuff is by letting me be your personal Google. Go to description of the podcast, which says find Wind Walkers online. Links and labels for all social media, where you can find the album, where you can stream it, where you can buy it, where you can buy it and download it, all that kind of stuff. Get some merch, where you can get concert tickets when they go live, everything like that. It's all in the description. I got you covered, so don't disappoint. Go follow along with them in everything they do. Now it's time for number 2. Trevor, whenever I guest in the podcast, I enjoy having the podcast. I tend to make a certain promise as a way to say thank you for taking the time being on the podcast, and I wish to continue to support you after this. And my friend, you hit on this. So my promise does not start out with if. If implies this might not happen. It starts out with when. This says that this is going to happen. We just need to set up a date or time. So it is when I get to see you perform live for the first time. I am going to go and impersonate one of my favorite movie characters of all time, Liam Neeson in Taken. Because I will look for you. I will find you. I will pursue you. I will come and say hi. And first round's on me.
Oh, man, I thought I was talking to him for a second. That was amazing. That was good stuff.
It's a particular set of skills that you must have. As a crazy podcaster and guy that goes into the pits all the time because he thinks it's fun.
Yeah, you got to talk like that the whole time, though.
If I got to talk like this the whole time, I'd be exhausted. But it will be a particular set of skills that must be performed. Oh, boy. Oh, man, this is already a great one. All right, now it's time for number 3. As we bring this to its full conclusion, Trevor, this is not goodbye because this was too much fun. I'm going to continue to support you guys, continue to watch you guys do, make good that promise, and I do want to bring you back on the podcast again in the future, man. This is a blast, so this ain't goodbye, my friend. Hell no. This is, I'll see you later.
See you later. I love it.
Well, Well, folks, that was my interview with Trevor from the band Wind Walkers, and now it's time for Kevin's final thoughts. So I kind of have two pieces for this. The first one is when we were talking about, the Spotify metrics, how they're close to 1 million Spotify listeners before the release of the album. And then when it comes to playing live, Trevor's going to be playing live with the band for the first time in 2024. I wasn't trying to, show any dissemination about, because the fact that, almost having 1 million streams is a massive, massive feat. Basically, it's, we see a lot of bands at times, they have a lot of streams, they have a lot of plays, but when it comes down to just like, the live setting, it's a completely different ball game. So that was kind of the thing I was trying to make, was just like, it's a different ball game when it comes to the live setting, but the fact that they, are gaining almost 1 million streams. How many people in their musical career can say that they've had 1 million monthly streams on Spotify? How many? Like none. Almost none. I mean, of course the big ones, but if you just walked up to, if you put every musician ever in a room, you'd probably pull out maybe 0.01%, maybe 0.02. That's about it. So that's the kind of point I was trying to make on that one, just how cool it actually is, but how it's not the entirety of it. The second piece I want to bring up is the fact that again, listening through this album, it's just the production side of things of it. It was so astounding to me just how well this was put together, how every bit sounded like it fit. Everything was amplified the way it was supposed to be. Everything was unamplified the way it was supposed to be. The balance between it was perfect. And Trevor's vocals throughout this absolutely smash on this. It reminds me a lot of vocalists like Chris Daughtry. Reminds me of sometimes Rory Rodriguez. Reminds me a lot of Lucas Woodland from Woodland? Yeah, Lucas from Holy in Absence. And even the guys from Archetypes Collide as well. Even Matt from Caskets at times. Like, there's a lot of different ranges that are going on here. He used a lot of different sounds. But the key is just how his vocal patterns work to make a lot of those transitions so seamless between sometimes synthy, sometimes more 80s infusion, sometimes heavier, sometimes more alt metal, sometimes some more of the pop stuff, some of the hyper stuff that they go with. There's a lot of different influences in here. And there's a lot of different ways that they get put together. But the fact that Trevor's vocals are a huge catalyst in making sure those transitions are so smooth that they're seamless, that is a huge key on this album, and why I think, is it the heaviest thing in the world? No, it's not. They said, we know we used to be heavier, but, and here's the major but, it's a whole new chat for the band, and we'll see where they go with this. I'm actually excited to see what happens with them, who they end up touring with, and getting to see them live. So make sure you go check out the brand new album from Wind Walkers, What If I Break? Links for the podcast below. For everything Wind Walkers, social media, where you can get the album, where you can buy merch, where you can support the band, follow along with them, everything. So go do that on your pro and personal Google. Make sure you follow along the Chord Progression Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram for all your, social media pleasure. You can also subscribe right here if you're on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, Podcast, iHeartRadio, or Amazon, please subscribe or follow us there as well, whichever one it is. Also, make sure you give a thumbs up or like these episodes as well to make sure that they are continuing to be pushed in the algorithm and more people get to know about all the great music that we have going on. I want to thank you for that. Thank you, Dark Fusion Systems, once again. Thank you, most importantly, for checking this episode out. On that note, that's going to be for today, guys. Thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. Something big, healthy, and hearty. See ya!